So I want to talk a bit about what makes habit change stick, right? So the theory that AA worked solely on reprogramming its participants' habits, like the cracks started appearing in that about 15 years ago, when researchers started discovering something. So they said, okay, so habit replacement works pretty well most of the time until something big happens in someone's life, right? Something like finding out a loved one has a chronic disease, or you have a chronic disease yourself, or losing a relationship, or experiencing a death, or experiencing a loss of a job, at which point a certain number of recovering people would fall off the wagon. And they wanted to figure out why this happened, why some people could kind of go through those experiences with their sobriety intact and other people couldn't. And it didn't seem to be about what habits they'd replace, right? So they started doing some research, and the recovering people said, yeah, identifying cues and inserting new routines is important, but without this other ingredient, the habits never really took hold. And the secret ingredient, they said, was faith. Right? And so initially the researchers really kind of hated this idea because like God and spirituality weren't really kind of testable hypotheses. But then in 2005, a group of researchers out in California wanted to look at this. So they started talking to recovering people about all sorts of religious and spiritual topics. And what they found was really, really interesting. What they found was that the recovering people that believed that some power greater than themselves has entered their lives were more likely to make it through a large stressful event with their sobriety intact, right? And what the researchers found it wasn't necessarily God that mattered, it was belief. Belief was kind of the key ingredient that made the habit loop into a permanent behavior, right? Believing in something, being able to believe in something again. And so, you know, putting people in meetings, in AA meetings, where belief is a given, right? Where belief is kind of this integral part of the 12 steps, allowed people to start practicing to believe in something again, right? And that skill started spilling over into other parts in their lives, right? So like, maybe I might doubt my own ability to stay sober, but, you know, I look at Mike and I'm like, well, I believe it works for him, right? So I'm able to practice a little bit of belief right there, right? And then I'm able to start believing that maybe it'll work for me, and I can start believing in the program. So this became this ability to believe in things was what really made the reworked habit loops into a permanent behavior.